Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic I'm going to call today is Something Big This Way Comes. Something big this way comes. Now, let me just talk to you a minute. I'm probably not going to get through all of the information I have to bring to you today anyway. So as I'm recording this, it is 12:52 p.m. on Monday the 7th. Tomorrow is Election Day. I'd like to be able to tell you that God has told me or one of the other people out there that hear from him, this is what's going to happen. And I know there's all kinds of people who said all kinds of things about what's going to happen on the election day. And the truth is, I don't exactly know, and no one else does that I know of. However, I think that title just about sums it up. I don't know when this big thing happens. And there's so many things that the prophecies say that are coming. I don't exactly know what it is that's coming. But I know something big this way comes. I know that probably November, probably even this week. I'm not trying to set a date here. God has not told me exactly. But I think from a lot of different sources, a lot of different reasons, I think that we're about to see cataclysmic changes like we've never seen in our lifetimes. So let me share with you a few things, and then I've got some important information to share in the middle towards the end also. Zero hedge. It's not looking good. Martin Armstrong warns there may not be a 2024 election. In other words, not this one, but in 2 years. He's saying there may not be a 2024 election. And I'm going to say before I even read what he says, he may be right. In other words, it may be that at that time we are under martial law, and hopefully the good guys are sweeping out the bad guys. And I think that there's going to be some of that happen. I also am afraid, based upon the prophecy, especially Revelation 18, that there's not going to be enough of that happen for us to avoid the judgment of God. Legendary financial and geopolitical analyst Martin Armstrong says, the cheating in the midterm election next week is going to be so great that it's almost impossible to make a prediction. In a fair midterm election, the Republicans would win the House and Senate. I think he's right, and I think he said it right. In a fair, meaning if there weren't any cheating, and I believe there's cheating going on both the Republican and the Democrat side. If it was a fair election, but the problem is it's not going to be a fair election. So the question is, who can cheat the most? That's who's going to win. So what does the Socrates program? Now, the way he's making his predictions is all from a computer. And I think it's sad that people will listen to what a computer says about the future more than they will God's servants and holy prophets of God. They don't believe in God. They don't want to hear from God. They'd rather hear from a computer. Sad, but this is what the computer says. Armstrong says it's going to be tight. Republicans have a shot at taking the House. Technically, they should win the House and Senate. But he says, I'm not sure. The corruption is so bad, he's not sure, and I agree with him. Pennsylvania, reportedly, has sent out hundreds of thousands of ballots to people who are not documented or even Americans. I've gotten emails from people in Canada, they're getting mail-in ballots. They mailed them to Canada. So where's all this end up? He says, who knows? It's just so corrupt. It's over the top. Someone asked me this morning, and my answer was, the Revelation says, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall our plagues come in one day, death, mourning, and famine. For strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. Meaning, it's going to continue to get so bad that finally God just says, okay, destroy it. Wipe it from the face of the earth, and unfortunately it does not say start over. Instead, Jesus returns to set up a new heaven and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. It doesn't matter who wins. Nobody's going to accept this thing, and that's the problem. The cheating is going to be so in your face that DJT may not even be able to run for president 2 years from now. He says we may not even have an election 2 years from now. It is not looking very good. It's probably because the election is not going to be accepted. No, I think it's that hopefully DJT and the good guys and the white hats can take over to a certain degree, at least for a short time before the New World Order and the Mark of the Beast comes out and the Christians are eliminated, beheaded, and things like that. When it is so over-the-top corrupt, what do you do for the next one? Well, I'll tell you what you do. God sends the Russians to attack us and destroy us in 1 hour. I'll tell you, that's exactly what God's going to do. But again, Americans would rather listen to what a computer says is coming rather than what God and his prophets say. The United States will not exist after 2032, and I hate to say probably this whole world. Hopefully by then Jesus will return, and the kingdoms of this world will become the kingdoms of the Lord and his Christ, and he shall reign forever. After 2028 and 29, we're going to have a redesign, a government from scratch. That's true. America's going to be destroyed, and that's true. But then, probably by 2029, I'm not setting a date, I do not know. God has not told me when the tribulation started. I've not got a confirmation it has started. He has not told me when he is returning. But I got guesses just like you got guesses. And my guesses are he's probably right on some of those dates based upon his computer calculations. Republics always end in absolute corruption. And I'm going to say, actually, everything out there ends up in absolute corruption because Satan is the god of this world. Let's go on, though. We just saw the same thing happen in Brazil. They staged a major effort to take Bolsonaro out. This is a worldwide effort. They had to get rid of DJT. The other one who stood in their way is Bolsonaro. Then there's Putin of Russia and Xi Jinping of China. I think you're going to have historians look back at this 50 years from now, and they will call this period the climate change wars. They're trying to take down as much oil energy capacity as possible. I'm going to say there's more to it. They're trying to take down anything that stands in the way of them putting their man, the Antichrist, on the throne. And the number one on that list is the Christian nation, America. Armstrong also contends that there will be a major loss of confidence in government around the world. That means gold will start having big demand from big money. Armstrong also predicts the whole monetary system, as we know it, is collapsing. Well, Prophet's been telling us that now for what? At least 2 years on a real solid basis? This was what the bond crisis in the UK was all about. Armstrong is still seeing very strong signals on domestic violence everywhere. Armstrong says our computer is showing it's going to be a rocket launch for volatility and civil unrest next year, as in 2023. And of course, Prophet's been telling us that for, 12 years at least that I know of? Let me give you an example. 7/30/2021. I think this is one of the more important and more powerful specific dreams. Jason Meeks. Now, he has been through Prophet Leslie's Train the Prophets program. He's close to our ministry. He says, the dream started, we stopped by an ATM machine to get some cash for the toll road. I put in my card, got $20 out, realized I didn't get enough money, so I put it back in, but now everything had changed, meaning one of the first things we'll see is a big change in our financial money system, and we may be seeing that, I'll say, in general, in 2022. As we drove home, we stopped by a major bank. The television screens were shouting massive arrests. Now, let me say something about that. As you recall, I reported last week that all of the transponders were turned off of all of the military aircraft. And what does that mean? I had one of the brothers come up to me and say, I'll tell you what I think it means. I think it means that they're already started on the massive arrest, the massive roundup, and they turned off the military transponders because they want to keep it on the low. I do not know. I'd love to have God just answer all these questions for me, but he keeps his secrets pretty close. I don't know. I hope that's true. An alert went out on my cell phone that DJT was assuming control as the new president. I expected people would be rioting and looting, but they were happy, celebrating in the streets almost like VJ Day in World War II. Now, Vicky Goforth Parnell, in a dream she had, I think it was last Thursday or Friday, was in so many words saying, this is going to happen this month. Now, I'm not setting a date. I'm just the delivery boy here. In the dream, a man came to me and started crying, saying how all his evil bosses had been arrested and rounded up, telling me he was now in charge of the bank. He was a Christian and had been praying for this for years. As people took to the streets in victory and celebration, we joined in. We jumped on the back of a fire truck to catch a ride in the parade because the streets were full. You could not walk. Everything was amazing. Then I heard a huge explosion. A Suitcase nuke had been detonated within the city. I didn't see the explosion, but I heard the shockwave from it. We jumped off the truck, ran into a restaurant, and jumped behind the bar for protection from the blast. Now, further confirmation. Anita Walker, 7/29/2021. The TV came on and made the sound of the emergency broadcast system like the 1980s, with that emergency beeping sound that we all remember back in the day, and a voice came across the TV saying, "We have tragic news that JB died." That's, I know, the second, and it might be the third prophecy. But the point is, it could be that emergency broadcast system has to do with our finances changing, has to do with what could be started by the elections. We could see it very soon. The vision shifted to KH and NP, plotting how KH would become number one and P would become number two. And they can put in place all the bad things that they plan. Now, let me just say something. There's a difference between a warning and a prophecy. In my opinion, this is a warning, meaning that if America continues to stay on its current path, this is where it's going, this is what you'll see. But a warning is a call for his people, his children, to fast and to pray so that the warning does not come to pass. And I believe this is a warning. That doesn't mean that this is not from God, because warnings are from God. Warnings are is God trying to get us to pray to stop it. Now, when it's written in the Bible, that's not a warning. That's a prophecy. It's saying this is coming. AmightyCry.com said, "I woke to a dream that I've had in the past. I saw beautiful blue skies, white clouds all over. Suddenly, the sky went black." Now, that may mean financial. That may mean suitcase nukes. Massive pandemonium, chaos, mayhem, dead bodies all over. I heard the words, "It will begin the second half of 2022. All right, now, if this brother really heard from God, and if it's not a warning that can be changed, then I'd say we got a high probability we're about to see some big things. That's the reason I titled this, "Something Big This Way Comes." I said, "Lord, I need a confirmation." The very next day, I got the exact same dream, plus one. It will happen. It will begin the second half of 2022. In the second dream, I saw a young man delivering newspapers. They left the newspapers in the bags, and the paper boy would deliver them door to door, but instead of the newspaper pulling out, a machine gun started killing people. It was representing civil war. The young men delivering the good news of the newspapers and the media had now turned on his own countrymen. Then December 30th, 2021, the Lord gave me the same dream that he'd given me on the 26th and 27th. Beautiful, blue sky, clouds. It flips, becomes black, mayhem, pandemonium, dead bodies. Then he heard the voice. It begins the second half of 2022. God has been very patient with us, and I'll skip all that. Now let's go to some news articles that confirm this. Biden's diesel fuel supply crisis could soon cripple America in ways never before seen. Diesel doesn't get as much limelight as oil and gas, but it should, because diesel fuel is the industrial lifeblood of the United States, and the price of diesel alone probably has more significant impact on inflation and the prices you're paying at the grocery store over any other factor. Without ample amounts of diesel, semi-trucks don't move. Farms shut down. Manufacturing crippled. As Bloomberg noticed this week, the U.S. has just 25 days of diesel supply, now the lowest since 2008. Now, I put this out. This came out in October 21. Now, there's several more articles. Now they're saying it's not coming. It's here. The Biden administration has remained strangely silent, probably hoping that this dismal news doesn't get the mainstream because it's a total political time bomb waiting to go off, especially just before the midterm elections are so close. So here's another article. U.S. diesel shortage worsens. Supplies of the fuel are at a 14-year low. Mansfield Energy, one of the nation's largest fuel distributors, said that it's having trouble getting supplies. What shortage is spreading from the Northeast? 72-hour notices, or you might not be able to get any delivery at all. Let's skip on. I've got too much to cover. As a further confirmation, the night before, I specifically in my prayer closet said, Lord, speak to Pastor Massey and show him what is coming. So the next morning he calls me. This is like the second or third time this happened. So he calls me next morning. He said, I had a dream. I said, hold on. Let me get my keyboard because he speaks the dream, I type it up. So I started typing it up. He says, Joseph came to me in this dream last night, told me to get prepared. I said, Joseph? You're talking about Joseph as in the Pharaoh Joseph? He said, yeah. Okay, that's credibility. I mean, I know Pastor Massey. He's been in our home. We worked with him in a lot of crusades. This man has a global miracles ministry. You can count on him. If he says it's God, it's God. He says, my father told me to go get the wheat. But when I got to the wheat, there was no more wheat. So that's the first thing. There's about to be a wheat shortage, just like Chris Reed was told to. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let a thing be established. There's going to be a food shortage. This makes the 15th person, the 16th person that is now saying that. I was impressed that I should go get a bag of wheat and a grinder for it. In other words, it's not just enough to have the wheat, my brothers and sisters. You got to have a grinder, and you need to have some kind of electricity to make sure you can use that grinder. You need to have a way to be able to cook that wheat. And, of course, for that, I'll send you to josephskitchen.com. Let me just say 10 seconds, okay? Give me 10 seconds to talk about josephskitchen.com. Some of you people turn off when I start talking about it. Don't turn off. You need to hear this. So what God has shown me and Joseph Kitchen, that we're to take wheat berries, put them into a grinder, turn the wheat into a bread maker with 6 other ingredients, push a button, 2 hours, 20 minutes later, you have a nice hot loaf of whole wheat bread. A slice in the morning, a slice in the afternoon, I find satisfies me. It's enough for emergency food. And instead of $9,000 or $10,000, you can do it about $1,000 a person at josephskitchen.com. Now let's go on. I was impressed that I should get a bag of wheat and a grinder for it. Then, here it is. I saw all the 18-wheeler trucks stopped. Why? Well, if you don't got any diesel, if you don't have any DEF, diesel exhaust fluid, the trucks don't move. It's not an accident, it's an on purpose. The Molochs are causing this. They're causing the chaos. Out of chaos, they're going to bring a new world order. Truckers reporting no diesel fuel. Parts of North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee. American truckers are sounding the alarm that diesel fuel is running out. October 14th, the U.S. Energy Infrastructure Agency publicly stated that the nation was down to 25 days of diesel fuel. The run-out date is, guess what? Election day. You think that's an accident? No, I think that's an on purpose. Yet diesel fuel continues to be refined, but they can't get it. And along with this article, I had a fellow on there in video saying, I got a truck, I can't find any diesel to buy. Railroads say higher volumes, labor constraints present obstacles to better service. Now, this is back in April, but here it is today. In other words, a lot of the things that they talked about were coming in April and May and June are now here in November and December and probably January. This guy here says he's Chief Executive Officer of Pilot Flying J. And he says, now we've been required to reduce our shipments by 26%, and then later they want 50% less shipping of our products that make the 18-wheelers move. Here's another article. The collapse of DEF, the diesel exhaust fluid supply, will devastate the trucking industry. This was back in May, and they were saying, look, there's going to be a shortage of this DEF fluid, and all trucks made from 2010 forward must have DEF in order to start, or you can't start the truck. So we see them cutting back on the diesel fuel, cutting back on the DEF, and the prophecies say that the 18-wheelers are going to eventually stop. That means food shortage. Do you have food? 18-wheelers stop. No food in the grocery stores. Can you feed your family for at least a year? If not, then I'd recommend you go to josephkitchen.com. By the way, use the Prophecy Club as a promo code and you get, I think, a $50 discount. I think this is so important. June 2, 2022, Timothy Dixon. I saw 5 beast plans created by 5 rich people hidden but united in power. Their plans to birth the beast, just like we've been saying, by these 5 events. I was taken inside of a meeting, and the 5 were secretly discussing the 5. I got more articles, but if you want to understand what's going on in the news articles, you got to understand what the prophets and the holy servants of God are saying. This group of 5 were not Americans. They were all evil. First, they want to disarm America. Well, we see that. That's what's behind all of the mass shootings. They think, I don't know how they're doing it, but somehow they can get somebody to pick up a gun and go out and start shooting people. I don't know how they do it, but I know it is orchestrated. Why? Because they want to get to where people finally throw up their hands and say, look, the only way we're going to stop these mad people from picking up guns and going out, crazed people and shooting people, is take away the guns. That's where they want to get it. Second thing, rise in fuel prices. Bingo, just what we've been talking about. It's here, my brothers and sisters, foreigners who came into the country to destroy it. Well, what was it? 250,000 cell phones were just handed out to a bunch of people coming up on our southern border. Do you think these people are coming in because they want to further the American dream, because they want to accept Jesus as the Lord and Savior? Or do you think they're coming in because evil people in high places have invited them in, saying, we're going to give you a cell phone, and at what time we call you, you show up for military training, we're going to give you things to blow up bridges, machine guns to kill people. And remember what Dimitri was told, the fall of America started with an internal revolution in America started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting against the government. This is some of the people. Next one. Food supply. He was told that there's going to be, so I probably need to count them up. It's 16 or 17 different people are now saying there's a food shortage coming. Are you listening? Are you prepared? Fourth, to bring America to defeat us. God is not going to let us stand. He's going to overthrow this wicked bunch. They're going to see the same God fight. Okay. Fifth, truckers. Truckers will be squeezed out of business. Isn't that the same thing the other guy's been telling us? But see, it's now no longer just coming to us in a prophecy. It's no longer somebody just having a dream or a vision. It's now, boom. Matter of fact, we have, I put together a list of the recent prophecies. We have 11 that says the dollar is going to fall from first down to 66%, 50%, 30%, totally worthless. If you have your wealth in dollars, you better start thinking about getting them into something else. And I'd recommend you call cornerstoneassetmetals.com. Call them, talk to them, open an account. Okay, you don't have to send him money today. Call them, talk to them. cornerstoneassetmetals.com. No longer is this number 14. I need to count them up again. It's either 16 or 17 different prophecies say that a food shortage is coming. For that, I'm going to send you to josephskitchen.com, promo code Prophecy Club. We have 31, and actually now I have 32. There's another one. 32 different words saying that there's some 35 suitcase nukes in America that are going to go off. And for this, we recommend you go to empshield.com. They got a little device you can put on your car or another one on your house so that when, not if, when a nuclear device goes off, if it's close enough to you, this EMP Shield device is supposed to, according to what they say, protect you from EMP. That way your car still starts, your house, your computers, your refrigerators still work. You know, they say that in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. In the land where none of the cars start and you have a car that starts, you have a big advantage. Got it? Promo code Prophecy. Finally, I have 7 prophecies that say that there's going to be a surprise Russian nuclear attack. For that, I'll send you to prophecyclub.com. You want to go there and get God's Warnings for America. It's a book. And it has all of Dimitri's prophecies in it, Leslie's prophecies, and things like that. Biden, Republicans will impeach me if they win. This is Newsmax, okay? I actually saw him say this on TV. So President Biden on Thursday warned the Republicans that they warned that Republicans will seek to impeach him if they win the House majority next week. Okay, so do you think they have the correct polls? Yeah. They don't have the polls like what we get. They know they're about to lose. They know that they're about to lose the House and the Senate, and they're scared out of their mind. and they're willing to do anything to keep power. I said bribery, murder, blackmail. They'll do anything they can. These guys are Molochs. They kill people, and they don't have a heart. They don't have a conscience. They kill people, and it doesn't bother them at all. So what do you think they're going to do? You think that they're going to just lay down and roll over and let the Republicans take over the House and the Senate? Or do you think that there's about to be trouble? I think most people believe there's about to be trouble. He went on to say, I don't know what they're going to impeach me for. Oh, well, my goodness. Let me count the ways. However, when he said the Republicans are going to impeach me, the whole crowd laughed, and he said, no, I'm not joking. And no, he's not joking. And yes, they do plan to impeach him. I say all of this to let you know just how serious this election is about to be. He said Republicans are planning a series of investigations that, if they take control of Congress, including probes into Biden's business, his son Hunter's business dealings in Ukraine, the president's failure to enforce immigration laws, the administration's botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, and his extension of a moratorium on residential evictions. Republican Major Marjorie Taylor Greene says Joe Biden is guilty of committing high crimes and misdemeanors, and it's time for Congress to impeach, convict, and remove Biden from office. Now, what if? I understand there's a plan. There's a plan to remove JB and NP and what's the other guy? The Senate House Majority Leader, Schumer. To remove them all, and then the House can put in DJT. So when the guy says there's not going to be an election in 2024, it may be because they don't need an election. It may be because the guy that everybody wanted in anyway is already in. See what I'm saying? I'm saying something big this way comes. It took me about 20 minutes to make these two loaves in my kitchen at an ingredient cost of about $12 each. In a time of food shortage and emergency, I'm going to cut each one of these loaves into 14 slices. Eat a slice in the morning, in the afternoon, I'll be satisfied. You want long-term food storage? You want to cut your food costs? Here it is. Eat 2 whole wheat bread slices daily for about a year for about $800 each. JosephKitchen.com's wheat berries come in a nitrogen-infused 7-gallon pail for long-term storage. Most other emergency food costs about $10,000 per person per year. That's right, about $10,000 per person per year. But at Joseph Kitchen, you could do it for about $1,000 per person per year. About $1,000 per person per year at josephskitchen.com. Use the promo code Prophecy Club. Get you a $50 discount. josephskitchen.com, promo code Prophecy Club for a $50 discount on your first order.